Hi guys, and welcome to my channel. My name is Eva and we continue speaking about the English grammar. Today we are going to talk about the remaining punctuation marks that help us divide sentences into parts. In this previous video we spoke about the comma, the colon, the semicolon. If you haven't seen that video, you'll probably be interested in following the link in the description to this one. If you have, let's proceed with those punctuation marks that remained. And the first punctuation mark that we are going to start with today is the dash. First and foremost, the dash is used to mark a break or an abrupt change of thought in a sentence. For instance, the deadline, believe it or not, has been moved up by 2 days. The concert, though it started late, was absolutely amazing. She opened the gift, oh God, and gasped in surprise. His reaction, why was he so surprised, made me wonder if he knew it all along. Another application of dash is to indicate an interruption or an unfinished sentence. For instance, Alex, I don't think you should. Anna, I don't care what you think. So in this dialogue, what Alex is saying has been interrupted by Anna, and we see the dash right after should, which marks that there was something that was intended to be said but was not said. If only I had. I was going to explain, but the same. In all of these examples, we see that the dash signals a sudden stop, either due to an interruption or to an unfinished thought of the author. Now, dashes can also be used instead of commas or parentheses to help clarify the meaning. Let's see. The final decision, whether we liked it or not, was out of our hands. You see that we can have parentheses and enclose this whether we liked it or not in parentheses, or we can use 2 dashes for this purpose. This book, my all-time favorite, always makes me emotional. The truth, harsh as it was, needed to be spoken. The contestants, John, the fastest runner, Lisa, the best strategist, and Mark, the underdog, were ready for the challenge. If in sentences 1, 2, and 3 we can use either parentheses or dashes or even commas to set off those additional pieces of information. In the last sentence, we cannot use commas. Why? Because we already have enough punctuation marks within this phrase that is inserted in the sentence. John, comma, the fastest runner, then we have the semicolon. Again, why do we use the semicolon here, not a comma? Because there is already a comma in this phrase, John, comma, the fastest runner. The same goes with the next part, Lisa, comma, the best strategist, and so on and so forth. So it would be not a good idea to use 2 commas to set off this whole phrase. We should use dashes or parentheses. The next place where we can find the dash is before a final clause that summarizes a series of ideas. Let's see. Hard work, perseverance, and dedication, these are the keys to success. A roaring crowd, bright stadium lights, and the championship on the line, this was the moment he had trained for. And the last place where we can use the dash is after an introductory phrase when it leads directly into the following lines and signals the repetition of that phrase. Let's see. The qualities of a great leader are integrity, which means always standing by your principles even in difficult times. Determination, the ability to push forward despite obstacles and setbacks, and the ability to inspire others, ensuring that every team member feels valued and motivated. I'll remind you that to introduce a list of items within one sentence, we prefer to use the colon. In here, as we have a lot of pieces of information, a lot of ideas are expressed, and all of them have additional punctuation marks, we use the dash. The next punctuation mark that is used to divide sentences into parts is parentheses. You can find this punctuation mark under different names as well. As their shape suggests, they are also called round brackets. So when do we use the parentheses? We use parentheses to set off an important matter not intended to be part of the main statement that is not a grammatical element of the sentence. For instance, the Great Wall of China, one of the world's most famous landmarks, stretches over 13,000 miles. The Amazon rainforest, often called the lungs of the earth, spans over 5.5 million square kilometers. And a high relief, or alto rilievo from Italian, is a relief where more than half the mass of the sculptured figure protrudes from the background. So we see in all of these sentences additional information, which is not an essential part of our idea, is enclosed in parentheses. Another function that parentheses have is to enclose letters or numbers that indicate items in a series. Let's see. To apply for the job, you must first submit your resume, second, complete an online assessment, and third, attend an interview. Another example, for the project, we need to focus on 1. Research, 2. Development, and 3. Testing. And one more example, to assemble the furniture, follow these steps. A. Unpack all the parts. B. Check for missing items. And C. Follow the instruction manual carefully. We also use parentheses to enclose a figure that confirms a written statement given in words. For example, the total cost of the project is estimated to be $5 million. And we see that after these $5 million that is written in letters, we see the number that is enclosed in the parentheses to confirm what has just been said. And another example, the speed limit on this highway is 65 miles per hour. The same, 65 miles per hour is additionally enclosed in parentheses. Parentheses are also used to give a reference. The study has found a significant correlation between physical exercise and mental health. Smith, 2020. So here in the parentheses we see the reference to the author of this idea. Another example, the effects of climate change are becoming more evident each year. NASA, 2021. The same, the source of this information is enclosed in the parentheses that follow the idea. And the last example, the chemical reaction produces a visible color change when exposed to oxygen. See figure 4. Here, the author refers to the figure that he added to his work, paper, article, or whatever it might be. Now, please pay attention to how the period is used relative to closing parentheses. The first example, the bookstore offers many genres: fiction, non-fiction, mystery, etc. As there must be the period after etc., we happen to have 2 periods, one before the closing parentheses and the other one after it. The latter shows the end of the whole sentence. Another example, the bookstore offers many genres: fiction, mystery, etc., sometimes non-fiction and popular science. What happens here? Here, we inserted additional piece of information after etc. and the period that follows it. And thus, we should use 2 closing brackets or 2 parentheses. And only after these 2 we put the final period that marks the end of the whole sentence. And the last example, the bookstore offers many genres. These include fiction, mystery, etc., sometimes non-fiction and popular science. What happens here? Here, a whole sentence is enclosed in parentheses. And in addition to that, we also have an additional thought that follows etc. And again, there is a period after etc. And then there is the period that ends the whole sentence. And it happens to be within this parenthesis that enclose the sentence. So if you want to insert an additional sentence in parentheses, into your text, the period should remain within this parenthesis. Another punctuation mark that helps us divide sentences into parts is brackets. Speaking about brackets, we have three different types of them. We have square brackets, we also have curly brackets, and finally we have angled brackets. The most common are the square brackets, so let us start with them. Square brackets are used to enclose words added by someone other than the author. Usually that is done for clarification. Let's see. The witness said he, the suspect, left the building around 10 p.m. So the original sentence that the witness said was he left the building around 10 p.m. But the author wanted to bring some clarity and he added the suspect in the square brackets into the sentence. He who? The suspect, right? To make it clear for everyone who reads it or hears it. The article mentions he, Einstein, developed the theory of relativity in early 20th century. Again, as the sentence might be torn from its context, to make it clear for every reader or listener, the author adds Einstein in square brackets. Square brackets are also used to enclose corrections, explanations, translations, and editorial comments. For instance, the report was submitted on time by the team. Here, the square brackets are used to clarify who submitted the report. Je suis content. I am happy. Here, the square brackets include the English translation of the French phrase. The candidate was elected to office. In this editorial comment, we see that the editor wanted to add some clarification to the context. The candidate was elected to office, right? Square brackets can also be used to provide alternative within parentheses, as parenthesis within parenthesis. Let's see. She traveled to multiple cities: Paris, France, Rome, Italy, and Madrid, Spain, where she stayed the longest. So here we see that the brackets provide extra details, some extra information within an already complex list. The project is funded by NASA, National Aeronautics and Space Administration, USA. The parentheses are used here to explain the abbreviation and the square brackets within them to clarify the country. He wrote his thesis on ancient philosophy, mainly on Aristotle, 384–322 BCE, and Plato. Again, the square brackets are used here to give additional information about the years of Aristotle's life. For instance, we could also add a subordinate clause, who lived in this or that century, in these or those years, but we just enclose that information in the square brackets, and now it is concise and gives some additional information to our reader, and everything looks neat and nice. The next type of brackets that we should speak about is curly brackets. Curly brackets may be used when a writer wants to indicate a list or a set, and especially in mathematics. They can also be used when parentheses or other types of brackets have already been used. For instance, the study included participants from various age groups: children 5 to 12 years old, teenagers 13 to 19 years old, and adults 20 to 60 years. The curly brackets here help group a broader range of data while maintaining the clarity of those brackets that are nested within the parentheses. Another example: fill out the necessary forms: ID verification, passport, driver's license, and proof of residence, utility bill, bank statement. Here, these curly brackets differentiate the two required types of information. And finally, the last example: the set of prime numbers less than 10 is 2, 3, 5, 7. As I have already mentioned, in mathematics, curly brackets are often used to indicate a set. This is what we see in this last example. The third type of brackets is angled brackets. These are rarely used outside programming. They may be used to mention a website, an email address, or sometimes to indicate a foreign language. Let's see. For more information, visit, and you see the website enclosed in these angled brackets. The Old English word hluff later became loaf in modern English. The next punctuation mark that helps us divide sentences into parts is quotation marks. First and foremost, we use quotation marks to enclose quotations. For instance, the teacher explained, photosynthesis is the process by which plants make their own food. We put the colon, and after it we have the direct quote of the teacher that is enclosed in quotation marks. Sister, he asked, are you coming? Here the direct speech is interrupted. We have two commas that insert the piece that does not belong to the quote, and we use quotation marks to enclose two pieces of the direct speech. And the last example, Jane said, my father said no. Please know that in this last example we use two types of quotation marks, single quotation marks and double quotation marks. So you're supposed to use the single quotation marks when you already have double quotation marks. Please also know that if you have already started a quotation with quotation marks, there should be an end to it. So the quotation must be closed with another pair of quotation marks. Another application of quotation marks is to enclose anything that follows words entitled, the word, the term, marked, designated, classified, named, cited as, referred to as, and so on and so forth. For instance, she read an article entitled The Future of AI. The term metaphor refers to a figure of speech. The area was designated high risk. The animal is classified endangered, and this phenomenon is referred to as the butterfly effect. Quotation marks are also used to enclose titles of addresses, albums, articles, studies, papers, awards, captions, editorials, books, essays, headings, plays, operas, songs, and so on and so forth. For instance, her favorite book is Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone by J.K. Rowling. Or the comedy The Importance of Being Earnest is one of Oscar Wilde's best works. I love Verdi's La Traviata. The music is so moving, and the event will take place at Rockefeller Center, New York. So we see that all the titles, all the addresses, all the names of whatever intellectual piece of property we are talking about are enclosed in quotation marks. Quotation marks are also used to enclose misnomers, slang, coined words, or ordinary words that are used in an arbitrary way, often to indicate irony, skepticism, or special emphasis. For instance, the koala bear is not actually a bear, but a marsupial. The hotel was advertised as luxury, but it was far from it. Scientists are studying dark matter to understand the universe. He is our expert on the subject, though he knows nothing about it. This last example shows us skepticism. Yeah, the word expert is enclosed in quotation marks in order to show a special attitude of the speaker or the author of this sentence to the person he or she is talking about. Please note that the comma and the period should be placed inside the quotation marks. Other punctuation marks, on the other hand, should only be put inside the quotation marks if they are parts of the quotation. For instance, Alex said, "Let's go." Sharon asked, "Why so? Why do you call this textbook unreliable?" You see that in sentences number 1 and number 2, both the period and the question mark are parts of what other people have said. So they are parts of quotations. Whereas in the last example, the question mark does not belong to what is being quoted. Yeah, only unreliable is somebody else's idea, somebody else's word. The question mark belongs to the original sentence. Why do you call this textbook this or that way, right? Another important thing to keep in mind: if possible, quotation marks should be limited to 3 sets. What 3 sets are we talking about? Double, single, double. There are no 3 types of quotation marks. We only have single quotation marks and double quotation marks. Let me demonstrate that. Michael said, "I heard Anne say, Tim told me, this is a great idea." Here we have 3 sets of quotation marks and they are used in turns. I heard Anne say, Tim told me. And this second time we use the single quotation marks. And then the third time, this is a great idea, we again use the double quotation marks. Another example, Jane replied, "When I asked her, do you want to come with us? She said, I'll decide after I finish my work." Again, double quotation marks begin the quotation, then we have single quotation marks, and then again we have double quotation marks. This we do in order to make our sentences more readable and more clear. Now keep in mind that quotation marks are not used in indirect quotations. We introduce indirect speech with he said, she said, they said, etc., and proceed without any quotation marks. By the way, if you want to revise the indirect speech in English, you can follow the link to this video in the description to this one. So now let's compare direct quotations with indirect quotations. She said, "I will meet you at 5 p.m. This is a direct quotation and it is enclosed in inverted commas. She said that she would meet us at 5 p.m. It's an indirect quotation. And as you see, we have some changes in the sentence. Will has been changed into would. Why? You can find the answer to that question in this video. The next example. He said, "I will go to the store later." This is a direct quotation, and an indirect quotation will be, he said he would go to the store later. Another example, Jane asked, "Can you help me with the report?" It's a direct quotation. Now, the indirect quotation of the same idea is, Jane asked if I could help her with the report. And the last set of examples, the scientist concluded further research is needed. The scientist concluded that further research was needed. Once again, when we are dealing with indirect quotations, we do not use quotation marks. That being said, there are 2 punctuation marks that belong neither to those that help us divide sentences into parts, nor to those that help us finish sentences. The 2 punctuation marks I'm talking about are the hyphen and the slash. Both of them are used, if I may say so, not on a sentence level, but on a word level. Let's see. We are going to start with the hyphen. The hyphen is mainly used to connect the elements of certain compound words. For instance, the editor-in-chief approved the article. 2/3 of the class passed the test. He is 95 years old. They use state-of-the-art technology. This is an over-the-counter medication. He spoke in a matter-of-fact tone. His brother-in-law is an architect. We see that compound nouns, compound numerals, compound adjectives here consist of words that are connected with the help of the hyphen. Another application of the hyphen is to indicate continuation of a word that is divided at the end of a line. For instance, the cake that Amanda baked for her daughter's birthday was delicious. As we need to divide the word delicious into delicious, we use the hyphen. Please note that words must always be divided between syllables. We never divide one-syllable words. For instance, the word delicious has 3 syllables, delicious. So we can divide it 2 ways. We can say delicious and delicious. Let's take another example. The project aims to improve the local environment by enhancing green spaces. We need to divide the word environment, and as it consists of 4 syllables, environment, here we opt for environment. Pay attention that meant, though it consists of 4 letters, is 1 syllable. So to say the project aims to improve the local environment by enhancing green spaces would be incorrect. Finally, the hyphen is used between the letters of a spelled word. Could you please spell your surname, sir? Sure. It's A-B-B-A-G-N-A-L-E. To join the meeting, type the code PARK. The final punctuation mark that we are to talk about today is the slash. The slash is sometimes called solidus or stroke. There are backward and forward slashes in English. Backward slashes are only used in programming, but forward slashes have many applications. First of all, we use the forward slash to indicate alternatives between words or phrases. For instance, you can take the bus, train to get there. That is, you can take either the bus or the train to get there. Please bring your passport ID with you. Again, we give two options. Please bring either your passport or your ID with you. This course is suitable for beginners, intermediate learners. This course is suitable for both beginners and intermediate students. Enter your mobile number, email to log in. Enter either your mobile number or your email in order to log in. The forward slash is also used to designate an abbreviation, especially in formal writing. Certain consumers advocate for agricultural practices without GMOs. W/O is an abbreviation for the word without. The car comes with AC and heated seats. AC stands for air conditioning. This section is not applicable to our study. The company's revenue growth is 5% per annum, and the rental fee is $50 per day. The forward slash is also used to show a relationship or connection between two or more ideas. For instance, the novel explores the love-hate dynamic between the main characters. The 2024-2025 academic year begins in September. The parent-child bond is essential for emotional development. The work-life balance is important for mental health. Another application of the forward slash is to show a line break in a poem or in a song. This happens when we need to write several short lines in one line. For instance, let's look at this poem, The Echoing Green by William Blake. The sun does arise and make happy the skies. The merry bells ring to welcome the spring. If we want to write those short lines of the poem in one long line, we will use slashes. We will write the sun does arise, slash, and make happy the skies, slash, and so on. Finally, the slash is used to denote dates and fractions. For instance, the 2nd of August, 2024. This is how we can write this date. 2/08/2024. 3/4, 1/5, or 1/2. These are all fractions, and this is another common application of the slash. That's all for today. I hope this video was useful. Subscribe to this channel in order not to miss my new lessons, and see you in the next video.